Okay, so let's draw this Ford Escort van in a fun cartoon style. Now before I actually get drawing it, I'm going to prime my watercolour palette. So this is just my simple watercolour palette. I don't use my watercolour pans. I don't usually use a palette very often. I usually just mix the paints on the actual page. This one's going to be green, so what I've done beforehand is add a few drops of water just to a light green, a dark green, and then maybe some blacks just for some darker for the wheels and that, and a little bit in the brown, a little bit in the blue. So the blue for like the sky colour and brown for the dirt colour. So they're just the simple colours there. So I primed that with a few drops, so then when I come to actually paint, the pan is actually softened up. So because if you do it hand, you'll have to wait a bit for the actual pan to actually soften up with water. But if you do it now, and then you come back to it after like 10 minutes or something, be all ready. Okay, so this is my 300 GSM watercolour paper. This is the one I found the best that can handle up to like 15-20 layers or something. And I'm just using a pencil for this. So what I like to start off with first is maybe a direction line for where I want it to go. So have this maybe distance point and that going across there, just like that. So it's almost like a rectangle. So that just gives me rough guidelines of where I want the furthest away points and the largest points to be. Now I think the best thing to start with is the wheel arch, the wheels, which is going to be one of the most forward parts. So you can just sketch this out, maybe practice, use your eraser if you need to. Just nice and lightly, go bring this down to the bumper. Notice how long this is. So I want to emphasize some of the characteristics that make up the vehicle, kind of make it all chunky. So the exaggerated, everything's more exaggerated, if that makes sense. And then the wheel, you can practice just doing semicircles. I don't like to use stencils or ellipse tools anymore. I used to in the past, but I prefer just to freehand it. But you can use stencils if it helps. Like, you can use this tool if you wanted to, which is good for semicircles for the wheels and that, but I'm just going to freehand this one. Just check my photo reference here. So I might bring this down. Then I'm just going to do another edge here. And the trick I found is to actually look at where you want the pencil to go here, but keep your eye where the dot is, and your hand will follow it. So that's where I want the line to go, like that. Right. So let's bring the bumper down here, and then curve it round. And the arch is going to be smaller on this side, so we'll bring that round there. So this line for the bumper, I'm going to follow up a similar sort of line for where the lights are going to sit. Then another line. So let's make it a bit smaller, so this is larger. So and do this small circles. Okay, so I want that to be the smallest point, so I'm going to do a line just above this arch here, like so, and a little bit up. So this is going to be creating the bonnet here. Then for the windscreen to sit, just going to do a line going across, and this line we can join up to there. So this is not going to be exactly like the same view, it's just exaggerated. So for the windscreen, and this is going to be the rear of the van here. Maybe keep that lower because I wanted to like be more perspective, as if it's giving more distance away. Curve the edges more inwards. I don't know any technical terms, sorry. I'm not an art student or anything. So for the van roof, going down there. So everything facing this way is curving down across. And for the side window, and let's do another. Notice how this arch sits on this line, but we're going to just do it a little bit below. Have that come in, and for the side skirt, and for the back wheel, instead of actually showing the rim, I'm just going to bend the tyre out. Add some tread. Do a line here for the vehicle. I'm going to erase some of these lines, so these are just rough guidelines. Then the door kind of brings it all together, so I'll do a line going down where the door is going to be. Just checking my photo reference. It's got a little spoiler at the back. Okay, so we need to work on this front more now. So the front bumper doesn't stick out too much. So I'm just going to do a curved edge there, a little one there, just so I've got a guideline. And this is where the number plate's going to go. I'm just doing a line here for the grille, where the bonnet lifts up there. Okay, now for the bottom part of the bumper. So this line for the first vent curves at the edge right up to the number plate, so we're going to do that. If we bring this down, then we can do the same on this side. So we're a lot more steeper. Then there's a second line going down here. There. Then a little lip on the inside. Okay. Okay, it's looking good. Just notice there's some oval bonnet vents. So let's do a exaggerate oval here. Now it's going to be a very skinny one there. Sun strip. Maybe a little circle here for the other wing mirror. Now the rims, 5 spokes. So I'm just going to do a circle there for a guide. One spoke there. Not quite parallel, not quite perpendicular at a 90-degree angle, just a little bit further up. And one here. And do the inside edge of the wheel. Okay, any lines I want to keep more, I'm going to just press down a bit harder. Right, curl this in a bit more. Okay, that's looking good. I think it's going to really start painting soon. Do a little bit of the inside edge of the rims here. This one's going to have one. So it's going to be a line here for the bumper. Just the fuel cap. Okay, so I think that's going to be ready to start painting now. You can do this in, or go over it in pen if you want. It's up to you. I prefer to stick to the pencil. I might go to pen afterwards. Okay, I'm going to start off with the background colours first. We are now 12 minutes in, not too bad. So, just to get lots of water into my blue here. And I'm just going to emphasize the vehicle on the edge here. So just going around that edge. Keep the heaviest paint in the center, so this is going to have the most paint here, and then from that, as there's less and less water, it'll lighten up here. So let's just drag that across, fill in that negative space. Now I don't want that hard edge, so what I'm going to do to eliminate the hard edge is add just a bit of water. My water's not very clean, so it has a bit of grey in it, but never mind. Still look alright. And to that water, just let that paint bleed out. Okay, then I might go back to my paint pan. Get some more of that blue, and now it's very, very wet, I'm just going to add a bit more paint to it. And now I'll have a hard edge on where the car is and a soft edge on the outside. And don't worry if you go over the car, it's fine. Well, I've still got this brush, I'm just going to add a few highlights on the vehicle, or shadows, whatever. So for the window is going to be quite grey and black, but I'm just doing a blue base. This window, I'm not dipping my paintbrush in any paint or anything, I'm just literally letting it run out on its own while I've still got a little bit on there. Then to reflect the sky a bit on these areas, it's going to face upwards. I'm just doing some blue as well. And a little bit on the car itself. Then I get a bit more paint from this edge. I'm just going to scrub it around, and the extra that's on the brush, and then use a little bit on here. This is going to be green, but I want to do a small little blue underglow under paint, just to because it's reflecting upwards to the sky. Okay, now before I do the vehicle itself, I'm just going to do like a brown tone, and I'm just going to do exactly the same thing. So nice dark brown there, where I'm going to emphasize the outline edge first. Again, keep it kind of heavy in the middle, and pull it out to the sides. When it gets to this edge, I'm just going to blend them together a little bit, like going in circles. Now I don't want to follow up the wheel up here. What I'm going to do is add a lot more water. I want this to be like very light and fluffy. And then to cancel this hard edge, again I'm just going with a lot of water. This will help soften that edge up. Okay, it's looking good. Now, normally I'll let this completely dry for the next stage, but why not? I'm just going to get my dark green first. Going very lightly over it, so there's a little bit of paint on there. Now, we'll go on some areas which is going to be the darkest first. So this has got the least amount of light is under here. So I'll keep that hard edge there and blend it out as it gets lighter to this edge. So let's get lots of paint on there. So it's going to be lighter at the top. So just going to do a layer here, then soften it up with some water. Adding lots of water here. Some more green. And let's emphasize this line. I'm just going to wait till that brown settle first a little bit before I go all the way down. And I'm just teasing the paint in the direction of the car. This will probably dry lighter, so I'll probably apply a second layer. This bit's quite darker than this area, so I'm just going to tease it upwards and then tease it this way. There we go. So again, this is going to be the slightly darker area. So I'm just adding more paint to this area. And I'm just going to more paint. Now I don't want this top area to be darker, so I'm just going to bleed that down. And following the line going across. Now I want this, because this is going to be more curved upwards, it's going to be lighter, so I'm just getting water now and just adding water on top of here. Now, I'm not going to do this as a complete solid object, so I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow green here. So it's going to be very, very light. Okay, so I'm going to do the whole process of the green on the whole car, and also I've got some black here, so I'm going to do the black of the wheels as well. So there'll be the same process where it's going to be the darkest area and pull it. Now because this is still very wet, if I hit that green there, it's going to bleed right through it, so it's going to spoil it. It's not going to spoil the brown though, so I don't mind just going to the edge of there. I'm just going to follow that curve around. And blend that in. And the top of the wheel is going to be lighter. So adding water. And then letting that darkness bleed through. This is going to be dark as well, so I'm just going to fill it in. I'm not going to do the alloys just yet because it'll bleed through the black and make it too dark. I can do the inside of the wheels where it's going to be very dark. Just using the flat end of that brush. Same for this wheel. Sometimes when the paint just goes a bit everywhere, I just emphasise the shapes, so wheel curving round. And any extra paint, I'll just feed it across here. Okay. So I'll do the same thing in time lapse just over the whole vehicle, and then I might go into a second layer after that. We'll see how it turns out. Okay, so you can see that I've just built up the layers and layers of different greens and stuff. Going in the darker edges here, I've done lots of dark greens to help impact that this is like coming in, emphasize those wide arches. So because this area is facing upwards, I've got light green here. So it's just been 4 or 5 layers of just gradual greens. Then because the wheels are kind of chrome, I've added blue and brown tones to emphasize reflections from the ground. Same with the wing mirrors. Again, just a bit of blue, a bit of brown here. But it's looking really cool. Now the next stage is, because there's lots of colour in there, I want to increase the contrast in certain areas. By doing that, I'm just going to use a white gel pen, and I've got a black marker pen as well. So the areas I want to have hit the lightest the first. So if this wheel sticking out, just like so. Got the tread on here, so I'm just doing a little bit edges on the tread. Do it bit more of a 3D effect. Like so. Then I notice on the forearm there's an indicator light here, little side light. So I'm just going to do a little blob of white there. And underneath that I'll use a bit of black marker there. What else do we have? We have another side light here. It just helps smooth out some of these brush lines as well, especially around these rims. So I'm just going to go around the edges of here just to smooth it out. And bring it a little bit in. I want this area to just kind of stay dark, so have the contrast between light and dark. So light on the wheel, because this is sticking out. This is not going to hit the outside light so much, so I'm going to leave that a bit more darker, but I will add a little bit of highlight on these treads here. Just like so. This line going across, I want to emphasize like a little edge, so I'm just going across here with the gel pen. Like that. Then let's do a little square on the arch here. And the outside edge, we're going to try and leave that dark line here of the dark green. I might actually do this upside down so it's a bit easier. There we go. This gel pen's very useful because it's quite opaque, so it sits on top of everything. Like that. I notice on the side, on the sun strip, it's got Essex Racing. So again with the gel pen, I can just go underneath there. I do a few lines just going up here to emphasize a bit of a reflection on the window. Maybe a line here to I'll pull that down. I've done this bit dark blue just to reflect the this top area reflecting on top of the bonnet there. So that comes down there, that's a shadow here. There is a bit of a shadow here for the side mirror, as it comes down it casts a shadow. It's not very dark, but what I will do is lighten the edges. Maybe go around that wing mirror. Then lighten this edge. And just going to smooth it out with my hand. There. So again with the more headlights. And this is where the bonnet starts, like the lines of the bonnet hood going up. Around there. Just all the edges. Don't go too crazy with it. Just to give a bit more detail. Sometimes I'll see some area that needs working, then I'll see another area, then I'll see, so it's just a bit of fiddling here and there and that. Little circle and a line going down there, just to emphasize the shape. Maybe let's do just a little bit going down here. I just want to create a bit more of a contrast where that wheel's going in. Maybe let's do a little bit here. Okay, that's looking really cool. Just on the edge of the panel at the back. Then a little bit for where the door is. It's not the correct kind of green, I think it's more of a lime green, the photo reference, but hey oh, I like the way it is. Do a little bit there. And do this edge. Again, I want to keep that dark green line there, so I'm just going to go above it. And a little bit on these oval vents. Okay, that's looking really cool. Okay, so So I'll finish the rest of this in time lapse, but that's all I'll be really doing is just tweaking a few areas, do a few lines with the tread. And this will remain kind of wet on the page for just a few moments a second, so if you ever want to smooth it out you can just with your finger. So I don't want to go completely down here because it hits the ground, so I'm just going to smooth that edge out like that. Just notice how that white line there now helps pull that wheel forward. But yeah, it's looking cool. Okay, so I think that's all finished now. As you can see, I had like a few little details here and there. So the single windscreen wiper there, just make sure that this edge of the wheel that's sticking out the most, make that like the lightest area. A few little blobs here on the front. Yeah, it looks really, really cool. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there. It's good to, sometimes I can just tweak things forever, but it's good to know when you can just stop and think, yeah, that'll do, that'll do. Maybe just there. Okay guys, I'll see you later. This is a really, really fun one. It's nice to do realistic ones, but it's also just like fun just to relax and do a little cartoon one every now and then. But hey ho, we'll be definitely doing the cartoon one, I think. This is really fun. I'll see you later.